It's Jim with Harvest Harmonics, and on today's show of The Successful Farmer, we're going to be talking about the thing that we all love to talk about: money, dinero, profit, scratch, whatever you want to call it. This is basically the end result of all of your hard work. Okay, now for most of us in the workaday world, we work hard, we get paid every week or every 2 weeks. For farmers, it's a lot trickier, obviously, because a lot of times the farmer puts all this time, energy, and money at the beginning of their season and throughout the season to try to get their crops going, and they don't actually see the return on all of that investment until the very end. Where at the end of their season, when they do their harvest, they get their paychecks, they pay off probably all the people they had to borrow money from during the season, and then what they are left over with is the profit, right? So on today's episode, we wanted to cover how to increase your profit. Different ways that you can increase the profitability of your farm so that you're able to maximize the amount of money you make. Now, it doesn't really matter whether you're a grain farmer, a commodity crop grower, or you're a specialty crop grower. At the end of the day, you have a certain amount of costs and you have a certain amount of profit, in return revenue. And so, how do we maximize that revenue? Especially, how do we maximize that revenue in cases where the seasons change, right? So some seasons you'll have droughts. Like right now, I'm talking to guys in Canada, I'm talking to guys in Oregon and California who are having massive, massive drought problems where there's just not enough water to go around. And they're actually regulating water in a lot of ways to make it even more difficult in some cases. So I'm not going to get into the politics of that, but I think it's kind of ridiculous that the driver of the economy, especially in places like California and in Oregon and other places, is subject to political whims. But in any case, the bottom line is there's just not enough water there, and it's hard to predict what Mother Nature is going to provide for you. So how do you proof yourself against that? How do you make more money even in those conditions? Well, obviously, if you've watched our show, we've obviously been promoting the Kiminasi plant booster, and we're doing that not just because we're a company, we're trying to make money or sell a product, but because in reality, the technology that we have, the technology that we are getting out into the marketplace right now is the next level. It's the way agronomy and it's the way agriculture is going to be done 10, 20 years from now. I have no doubt about that. Because if you really think about medicine back in the 70s and 80s, and you had a major surgery like heart surgery or something like that, they had to pull open your chest and do some major invasive surgery to fix not that sometimes not even that major problems. Now they can do the same thing by a little pinprick, and they send a little camera down, fix you all up, and then that's all you have. So the medical industry has changed dramatically over the last 20, 30 years. And I bring that up because the evolution and advancement of technology has dramatically improved the techniques that doctors and surgeons and everybody else are using. In the same way, we've been in agriculture, we've been doing things pretty much the same way for many, many years, right? We've been adding fertilizers, adding chemicals, adding nutrients, adding pesticides or herbicides or fungicides, and then we've been able to control pests and pathogens. Things have been pretty consistent along the way. But now we're kind of looking at how do we actually evolve agriculture in the same way? How do we bring agriculture up to the point where we can produce a great crop and reduce our overall input costs and our total costs? Because from a business perspective, of course, farmers are interested in profitability because let's face it, you have to pay for seeds, you have to pay for fertilizer, you have to pay for labor, you have to pay for equipment, you have to pay for fuel costs. I mean, there's so many inputs that you have to keep track of, as well as land costs and those types of things. And at the end, you really have to maximize your revenue. Say, how do I get the most out of that investment? And there's a number of different ways. So I'm gonna go over some of those. The first thing is obviously to plan ahead. And look at what are the main problems that my farm is having, and not just having this year or in this month or something like that, but what are the consistent problems that I continually run into? Am I consistently bothered by lack of water or drought? Is that not just a problem of the last year, but maybe the last several years? Is That's a long-term problem. Is this going to be even worse going forward 5, 10, 20 years into the future? What about fertility? What about soil health and soil activity? How healthy is your soil? And how well is it going to respond? Because that's a long-term longevity problem, right? If you're thinking, well, I got to get a crop out now, and you're not so much worried about what damage a certain thing might be doing to the soil in the long term, that's okay to solve that problem you have right in front of you. But at the end, you start having to look and plan and say, how can I improve soil health? Because if you're really frustrated about the cost of fertilizer or soil inputs or those types of things now, the chances are is there's soil health management issues that underlie that that actually cause that over the past 10, 20 years. And so you want to look at soil health and how do you improve the soil health. One is to look at your microbial activity. How well are the microbes in the soil converting atmospheric nitrogen and other compounds in the soil into usable forms for the plant. The other thing you want to pay attention to in terms of soil health is water permeability and water retention. If you're irrigating and blasting irrigation out for 5 hours and you come out to your fields and you see, 3 inch, 4 inch puddles all over your field because the ground is just so solid and so dense that it can't permeate, go down into the soil. Or if you have the opposite problem, like a sandy soil, and you water the ground, and all of a sudden it just sucks down into the soil and out through the root zone, and it doesn't stay there. And these are issues of soil health, and you have to look at like how can I improve my soil health to better improve water retention? Because if you're having problems with drought and water issues now, and that situation doesn't change, let's say if it is a global warming issue, or if it is an issue that's a long-term issue, that can jeopardize the survival of your farm. So you really have to look at how do we switch the irrigation system around, or how do we look at soil health, and how do we improve water retention in the soil and those types of things. So soil health is one of the main ways you can really proof yourself against long-term problems and really create a sustainable environment. The second really important area is what kinds of chemicals you're using to get out your crops. Are you using pesticides? Are you using herbicides? Are you using fungicides? Are you using bacterial things? Now, of course, all of these chemicals and these things are useful, especially in the short term, but what is the long-term potential damage that you might be doing to your farm? And what alternatives might you have to utilizing some of these chemicals? I know the big debate in not only in agriculture, but around the world right now is glyphosate. And whether it's an effective tool to be used or whether it's a dangerous chemical. And I'm not going to enter into that debate one way or the other on this show, but I want to just let you know that that could be a real concern. If glyphosate is causing soil damage or other problems in your soil, what might the long-term damage be of using that chemical? Yes, you may get out a good crop, or it may kill the weeds, or those types of things, but is there a long-term problem that might be causing? And these are just questions you have to ask yourself. If you're having a lot of problems with insects, you might want to look at what are the things that are causing the insect pressure to really rise. Is the health of my soil, the health of my plants or trees, of such a stressed quality that insects are attacking and really damaging these things? Because if you have super healthy soil and super healthy plants, generally you don't have as much problems with insect pressure. These are all situations that affect obviously your input costs and how you can utilize these long-term factors to influence your input costs. Because as much as the better you can control soil health and in chemical usage, the better you're able to really manage the overall longevity of your farm and the long-term benefits. Now, another thing to keep in mind is revenue. How do you increase revenue? Well, most farmers, when I talk to, when you ask, well, how are you going to get more money? How are you going to make more money? Their main interest is yield. If you can increase my yield by 15, 20, 30%, I'm on board. And so the idea is, yes, if you have more produce, you're going to be able to make more money because they give you a certain amount of money per pound or a certain amount of money per ton or per box or whatever it is. And obviously, if you have more boxes or more pounds or more tons, you're going to get paid more money. Now, that is true across the board, no matter what type of operation you have. So the first question is, well, how do you increase yield? If you have to dramatically increase your input costs, like you dramatically increase fertilizers, you're not going to, that's going to cost a lot more. So yes, you're going to make more revenue on the back end, but then you have to figure out, well, how much is that costing versus how much am I actually making on the other side? So that's something to consider. The other thing to consider is, how do I increase my yield again long term? Soil health is one component of that. Overall pesticide or chemical usage is another. But photosynthesis efficiency is a huge part of that, especially in years like this year, where we're having drought conditions throughout the West Coast and up into Canada. And in drought conditions, the plants will shut down photosynthesis. They just shut down. They stop producing. They close the pores in their leaves to improve water retention. to survive, and then those plants are just not producing energy. If they're not producing energy, they're not producing fruits and vegetables. It's just they kind of shut down. And so if you ever had a season where you're thinking, well, last year I got 25 tons of tomato, 35 tons of tomatoes, and this year I'm only going to get 20 tons of tomatoes, and you're worried about what the loss of that revenue is going to look like. Well, ask yourself, well, what could I have done to prevent that loss? Even, how do I make that plant more water efficient? How do I make that plant more efficient with its photosynthesis so it continues to generate the energy it needs to grow and produce offspring, which is, of course, the fruits and vegetables. Now, of course, now the reason why we're getting into all this and the reason why I bring all this up is because the product that we've been promoting, the Kiminoxi Plant Booster, is a product that can actually improve all of these areas, and not just in the short term, but in the long term as well. Now, the biggest question we get is, first of all, how is it that your product does so many different things? Because some farmers get really skeptical when you start saying, well, it improves insect resistance, it improves fungal resistance, it increases yield, it improves quality, it reduces insect pressure. When you start naming off all the things that our technology has been proven to do, it sounds a little unbelievable because there's no other product out there that has such a wide-ranging positive effects. And the reason behind it is because our technology is not focused on a narrow spot, a narrow piece of the overall puzzle of plant yield. Our technology is boosting the entire metabolism of the plant from microbial activity and soil health all the way through photosynthesis efficiency and improvement in the overall health and quality of the plant. When that plant is healthy and it's continuing to produce the energy that it needs, of course, it's going to produce lots of fruits and vegetables, and it will have the energy that that plant needs to provide high quality fruits and vegetables. Because sometimes it's not a matter of increasing your yield by 50% if the quality of that yield is not as good or better than when you're starting off with. And we have a number of different examples of exactly how we're improving quality and quantity. In fact, some of our growers are getting more money for their produce than they were getting before on their with their untreated fields. So these are some of the ways you can really improve profitability. And I wanted to kind of go over with you a tool that we use when we talk to farmers about what our technology is, how it works, and how we can help the farmer become more profitable. We utilize a tool. It's called the cost benefit analysis. Now, it's nothing particularly special, or it's nothing particularly special. I'm going to share my screen here, and share the screen here, and I'm going to show this cost benefit analysis. So I want to show you just as an example here. Okay, it's a very simple calculation tool. In fact, it's a simple spreadsheet that we made up in an Excel, and we just give the farmer. We just take the data that the farmer is giving us. So when we talk to a farmer, one of the useful tools that we can use to determine whether or not our product is going to help make that farmer more profitable is this cost benefit analysis sheet. We just ask the farmer, okay, good. How many acres do you have, or how many acres are you considering using the Kiminoxi plant booster on? In this case, it was a strawberry grower. He has 30 acres. And then we just ask him a very simple question. How many pounds per acre are you getting per year for the strawberries? And of course, the units of measurements may change. Maybe boxes per acre, it may be tons per acre, it may be bushels per acre on the corn and soybeans, those types of things. So we work with the unit of measurement. But in this case, it was strawberries, and he said, well, I do 90,000 pounds per acre. And then we asked him, okay, good. How much do you make when you sell those strawberries on the market? And he says $1.50. In other words, for every pound of strawberries he produces, he gets $1.50. So then we just use this calculator to calculate. Okay, good. If you have 90,000 pounds times $1.50, then you're making what? $135,000, I believe it is. And so this calculator then tells us, okay, good. If we increase your yield by 10% in this case, sometimes we say 20%, 30%. It really depends on the crop, but very consistently, we're getting 20 to 30% increases in yield, sometimes 40, 50%. So in this case, we just kept it conservative and said, look, if I only increase your yield by 10%, that means in the course of a year, you're going to make 9,000 more pounds per acre. That makes sense, right? 90,000, 10% more is 9,000. At $1.50 a pound, you're going to make $13,500 per acre more by using our system. And of course, when we subtract the cost of the system for the farmer, we get a net profit. In this case, I believe it was a little over 13,000. So this also tells us, like, okay, good. If I charge you $350 an acre for strawberries, which on the front may sound like a lot of money, but I said, look, if I charge you 350 an acre, you're going to make $13,000 more. You'll pay for my device and you'll make $13,000 more. If I charge you $1,000 an acre, you're still going to make $13,000. So in this particular case, the farmer looks at this and says, "Wow, no matter how expensive this device may be," and of course, don't worry for those of you guys watching this, our device is nowhere near $1,000 an acre at this point. But in the future, as we continue to collect more and more data, it might get to that point. We might have such a demand for this that we might be charging $1,000 an acre, and farm growers like this are still going to make a killing on it. So we really find out, okay, good. If you have 30 acres, you're going to make $13,000 an acre times 30 acres is 390,000, and over the 2-year lifespan of our product, you're going to make a little over $750,000. So even at $1,000 an acre, this farmer's making more than $750,000. So that's strawberries, and let's take a look at something else here. Let's take a look at tomatoes. Okay, this was a tomato farm. And again, we just kept it really conservative at 10% here. He had 6 acres. He's a smaller farmer, but he's grows 1,500 boxes of tomatoes per year, and his price per box is 62.50. So I told him, okay, look, if I give you an extra 10% yield, that's an extra 150 boxes per acre. That's $9,375 more per acre you're going to be making with our product. And of course, even if I charge, let's say if I charge 150 an acre, okay, 9,300. If I charge 200 an acre, that's 9,275. If I charge 350 an acre, it's still at 9,200. So no matter what I charge here, even if I charge $1,000 an acre, he's still making $8,000 an acre more. Now, these are the types of calculations I do with farmers. And just to show you, and just to let you know that I'm not just giving you a bunch of stuff with big numbers. I have a particular farmer here in Pakistan who was talking about sugarcane. He's got a sugarcane farm, which is a big crop down there. He said, "Okay, good. I do 30, have 35 acres. I do about 52,000 pounds per acre per year, and my price per pound on sugarcane, obviously it's a commodity crop, is 3 cents a pound." So I said, "Okay, good. Let's just run the numbers. And on a 20% increase in yield on sugarcane, you should get 10,400 more pounds of sugarcane per acre. At 3 cents, you're going to make an extra $312 per acre, and that's your basic profit. So if I went to 10%, he's going to make $156 an acre. So obviously, if I charge him, $200 an acre on this, he's gonna make on a 2-year product, he's gonna make a little bit of money. But on a commodity crop, I know so many farmers that if I prove to them I get them an extra $50 an acre, they're gonna jump all over this product because commodity crop growers, corn, soybeans, wheat, hay, these alfalfa, these types of things, there's not a lot of margin on a per acre basis. They have small per acre profits, but they have a huge number of acres so that their operation still makes a good amount of money. So in that case, again, the whole point of this is I utilize this tool because for my business, it really doesn't matter as much what I charge the farmer because I know that my technology, my product's always going to get a positive result. And I guarantee those results. I tell the farmer, look, if I don't make you more money by using the Cheminoxy plant booster in the first year, then I'll give you your money back. And out of 600, 650 farms around the world at this point, I haven't had a single farmer ever ask for his money back. So I'm confident that I know that no matter what I sell this product for, assuming I've done the cost benefit analysis and proven it to myself and the farmer to begin with, he's always going to make a lot more money with Cheminoxy plant booster. And I urge you guys to use tools like this as well in your own business. Take a look at your Don't just wait till the end of your harvest and say, well, did I make money this year or not? I mean, you should be looking at your input costs. You should be looking at your fertility program, your fertilizer usage, looking at your soil amendments, looking at your pesticide costs and all of these things, and looking at your equipment and labor costs. And I'm sure a lot of farmers who are watching this already do that. It's not like I'm telling them anything new. But if you're not doing that, being able to go through these calculations for all the different expenses and then all the different, sources of revenue you might have can really help enlighten you and improve your understanding of how you can be more profitable on the farm. So that's pretty much what I wanted to cover here. I want to answer some questions here. I see some comments and questions in the chat. So the first question is Samuel from Ghana. Happy to be here. Thank you so much, Samuel, for joining us. Appreciate you. Can't boost your code. So we got a request for code. If you're watching this on Facebook, fill out the request for quote form. We'll be happy to work with you on your farm and work through these cost benefit numbers with you to build you a system that's going to work and make you profitable. Next one here is, do I need a specific type of irrigation system to use this technology? Very good question, Haranza. The answer to that question is no. We can adapt our chemonology. We do need an irrigation system. So if it's completely dry land, unfortunately, we don't have a solution for you, but stay tuned and keep following us because we are working on that. But it doesn't matter what type of irrigation you use. We're actually working on solutions for tractor mounted irrigations and sprayers to see if we can help work those numbers out. So we'll work with any type of irrigation: flood, drip, pivot irrigation, overhead, sprinklers, sub irrigation. We work with all types of irrigation. As long as the plants can absorb water that is infused with this technology, it's going to benefit from our technology. Let's see here. The next question is amazing. How can I prove it? Well, the best way to prove it is to use it on your farm. We have a number of different results. In fact, if you go on harvestharmonics.com, pardon me, my throat there swallowed something wrong. Sorry. If you go to our website at harvestharmonics.com, you can see, dozens or maybe even hundreds at this point of case studies where people are using this, getting results. But the real test is, how does this work on my farm? So that I would suggest buying one of our devices, one of our units. If you want, you can test it on one field, or you can buy it for your whole farm, whichever you feel more comfortable with. And the idea is, when you see it for yourself and you see the results, then there's really no denying that this technology is for real. And of course, we back it up with our 100% no farmer loses money with Harvest Harmonics guarantee. Any other questions here, guys? I'm not seeing anything else. So, guys, if you want more information or if you want a quote, you can fill out the quote form, which is down below in the comments. You can also give us a call at 727-324-6750, or you can email us at service@harvestharmonics.com. And we would love to work with you on your farm to help you become part of the future of farming today and help you generate more profit than you've ever seen on your farm before. So, that's the challenge we have for our farmers out there. Utilize this amazing technology, increase your profits, and don't sleep on this, guys, because again, it's not so much a threat as just a reality of business. When people really start jumping on this and really find out about this in a big way, we're going to be filling so many orders and just helping so many farmers that the pricing that we have, the introductory pricing we've been operating under, is no longer going to be available, and we're going to have to go to our actual production prices. So if you have questions also about how the pricing system works, every system we build is custom designed for the farm that we have it on. So we need to know stuff like your flow rate of your system, how many acres you're covering, what you're growing, and those types of things. So you can fill out the request for quote form, and we'd love to get that information from you and work it out with you. That's all we got today, guys. I want to thank you so much for joining us here on the Future of Farming Today, and stay tuned tomorrow for another episode of the Future of Farming Today. We're going to show you more results and give you more ideas for improving your farm. Have a great day, guys, and we'll see you soon.